victory for Cork, obvious jubilation, heartbreak for Dublin. Their fans really struggling, and Anthony Daly and his team must be devastated. But I was making the point earlier, Lee, millionaire sportsmen all over the world in action today. Usain Bolt and Tiger Woods and Man United. And these amateurs from Dublin and Cork, the performance they gave was extraordinary.
Yeah, it was fantastic, really. You know, it's a game to cherish. I mean, Hurling was the big winner today. I know maybe Anthony Daly and his charges won't feel like that this evening. Obviously, they came out in the losing end. But Hurling really was the big winner today, and it's been a fantastic year for Hurling. I mean, with 45 scores today, 31 scores from open play. Yeah. It was ding-dong stuff, you know. The teams were level 10 times in the first half. I mean, it was just end-to-end stuff. You know, you didn't know which way to turn. You couldn't switch off for 1 second, you know. 11 to 15 points in the first half, nothing in it. You know, obviously a few big talking points in that second half. Yeah. But overall, Cork, you know, obviously just had that little bit more. But I think overall, both teams brought a huge intensity to Croke Park today. And I think, you know, you really got to understand why people train in January and February when you see a game like that today. Because, I mean, you needed a full tank going into Croke Park today. And, I mean, they just emptied out onto that pitch. I thought it was a fantastic spectacle. And both teams deserve great credit for the joy they brought us today in watching that match.
Ollie, what did it mean to you as a neutral, and potentially Limerick could be playing the winners?
I suppose it was great to be able to sit back and just, you know, as Liam said, enjoy the game for what it was worth. I suppose we're all well aware of the degree of physicality of hurling now, but, you know, combined with the physicality, the skill levels, and I suppose, you know, people lately bemoan the fact that maybe the skills have suffered as a result of the physicality. But that certainly wasn't the case today. You know, from minute one right through to the 72nd minute, it never let up. You know, and you can forgive some of the players maybe in the second half for going down with cramp, because, you know, I think there were spectators there were going down with cramp for finish. You know, because it was just so hard to follow the game. But I think maybe in the first 12 or 13 minutes, I know it was 6 points all or 7 points all at one stage, which is fantastic shooting. Very few wides. Very few scores from place balls as well. So, you know, like in terms of a spectacle, I think the first half especially, I think the game in total was fantastic, but the first half especially should be, you know, promoted across the world as you know, why hurling is the greatest field sport in the world.
Yeah, I think it was 7 points each after 18 minutes, 14 scores in 18 minutes, and that possibly summed it up, Eddie. But it was broader than, it was the occasion as well. Over 62,000 people there, the colour, the pitch was great. I mean, everything about it seemed to add to the occasion.
Yeah, it did. It was a as I said, the minute the ball went in, it was just honest, committed hurling, and that's the big thing for me as well. There was no stoppages, very few stoppages during that match. You know, normally you have frees and bits and pieces that slow down the rhythm of the match, but from minute one, I think both teams went at it hammer and tongs. No quarter asked or given. You know, there was no line down, there was no whinging, nothing like that. Both teams just really got on with it, and it just served up a great spectacle. I mean, that's what you want to see at this time of the year. Often enough, and maybe, you know, certain game plans or tactics can come into play a little bit. But today, I think both of them, as Michael Dyke mentioned earlier on, they went 15 on 15 and just went at it and made the best team win. And it served up what was, without doubt, I'd say the game of the year so far.
It's not more than this year, but it was interesting in terms of scores in it, because you made a reference to scores. Let's have a look at the scores there on the board. Cork had 10 scorers, Dublin had 9 scorers, 19 different players scored, and Eddie, what, every player from 8 to 15 scored on both sides?
Yeah, we were looking at it beforehand, and I mean, it's a very interesting stat. I mean, I think personally, I can't ever recall midfield up on both sides scoring and throwing Anthony Nash into the mix as well. You have a goalkeeper scoring as well, so it must be some kind of a record. But you know, to see that kind of free-flowing hurling, and, you know, everyone contributed, and I suppose that's the big thing you ask for on any given day. There's days when lads go out and they just don't play well, but when that happens, you just need to make a contribution. And I think everyone today made a contribution in what was an attacking-minded match. They just went at it and they were looking for scores the whole time. And again, it just added to the occasion, because it was just tit for tat the whole time. It went up and down the field, and, you know, you talk about these great soccer matches, that's box to box stuff. That beats it hands down for me. They just emptied themselves, and for amateur players, as I said, looking at it there's no place for the old lads out there, I'm afraid.
All right, then, now, it was a shame there had to be a loser, but there always is, unfortunately. But there are lots of talking points now. The big one, and Dublin fans on Twitter to us, you know, saying if the Rhino Dwyer sending off turned the game. So, Liam, you take us through that. You know Ryan, obviously.
Yeah, it is a huge talking point, and I suppose the big talk is the first incident, and, you know, you can see it here. You know, I mean, it is slightly mistimed, but it's only slightly. I mean, you know, Luca Farrell is small in stature, and Ryan comes in. I mean, he's very much on the edge player, but, you know, I would say that of that, you know, he's very much definitely trying to get the shoulder of Luke O'Farrell, and James Owens judged him to be that it was frontal, and obviously the frontal piece would warrant a yellow card. Second one didn't lock on McLaughlin. I mean, he's going for the ball, but clearly I think there's very little argument on the second one that it's not a yellow card. I think anyone watching the match would have no doubt that is a second yellow card. I think interestingly, maybe if it was reversed, I think if he got that one first, I don't think he would have got a yellow card for the second one, which meant he would have stayed in the pitch. But I think he had no choice but to give him the second yellow in that instance. But I mean, that's unfortunate for Ryan in this instance. I mean, it's always unfortunate to see a player being sent off, and again, it's a big talking point. But I think that the second yellow is justified. I think there was a lot more question marks previously where maybe neither yellow card was justified. But the fact that it came second, I think if it was the other way around, I think he would have stayed in the pitch.
Ollie, one point I have to make: the three of you were complimenting the referee James Owens during the first half.
Look, I suppose you can come on every week and you can be engaging in referee bashing, but I think the one thing we all remarked was how James Owens facilitated the flow of the game. Like he could have I suppose stopped up every incident there and given frees willy-nilly, but he didn't. He made a conscious decision to let the game flow, and I think that more than anything else is what allowed the game to be so open and so competitive. And I think that is the way hurling should be played. Personally, I'm a big fan of Brian Gavin, because that's the way he referees the game. And I suppose players know too that you don't step over the line. I suppose in one sense you could make the argument that maybe Ryan O'Dwyer, I suppose, or James Owen rather, was laying down the law by giving Ryan O'Dwyer the yellow card so early on.
And it's a fair point. I suppose you have to, sometimes I suppose refs are trying to, do you let it go? And next thing you kind of have control lost of the match. So I suppose maybe James Owen was trying to stamp his authority there. For me, it wasn't. It was, at that stage, you could probably give him the benefit of the doubt, give him a black book and tell him to keep it low. But I suppose it did contribute after that. I think there was nothing but honesty after that. I think players maybe react to referees and read a referee and they saw straight away.
Give a card and
right,
so don't do it.
But unfortunately for Ryan O'Dwyer, he's a very committed kind of a fella. He wears his heart in his sleeve. He flies into everything. But I suppose he and the broader scheme of things, he'd be disappointed. But the second one, I suppose, he knew straight away where he stood. And I think the point we're making was the swing. Anthony Nash came out then and popped that ball over the bar. Yeah. And that was a huge moment in the match. It definitely swung it in Cork's favour.
Now, he was perhaps unlucky. Liam Rush, though, you felt was lucky.
Yeah. This is pretty black and white, I think. I don't think there's any debate in this. Just held a little bit Patrick Horgan, but it's striking with force. And as I said, I suppose you don't want to, I think what really happened then, James Owens takes his, and I suppose it's where it went as well. It could have been a lot nastier. But in fairness to Patrick Horgan, he was nursing his tongue. He got up. James Owens, there's no doubt about it. He saw what happened. But I suppose realistically, what happened with Ryan Dwyer probably saved Liam Rush. And I think James Owens took a lot of time to make his decision. I think he thought long and hard about it. He gave him a good lecture. But I suppose when you look at some of the sendings off during this year, you'd have to question the consistency with it. I mean,
so was it a red card in your view?
Without doubt.
Ollie?
Again, I suppose it was, but as a hurling neutral, everyone was glad that Liam Rush didn't get sent off. Now, I know maybe James Owens is going to take flack because the adjudicators up in the stand are probably going to, put down a red mark after that. But look, again, I think in the overall context of the game, I think it was good that he didn't. But yes, technically, it was definitely a sending off.
Liam?
Yeah, no argument. As Eddie said, it's not black or white, it's red. I mean, that was a striking offence. And he didn't even know where he was swinging. So I think in that instance he probably should have got his marching orders, but I think he benefited from the player being sent off earlier.
All right. There were stars all over the field, as you've pointed out, and we looked at the scores, as this programme often does, but defenders don't always get the credit. Ollie, you've chosen the Cork full back line for praise.
Yeah, and I suppose it's ironic in a game with so many scores that we're highlighting some of the back play here, but you can see here, like this guy, Conor O'Sullivan, and we can see him in numerous clips here, his level of defending, you see here, has the peace of mind to not only win the ball, but give a pop pass there to Stephen McDonnell. Great delivery again. But you can see in all these clips, there's very little distance between the Dublin forwards and the Cork backs. They're all the time on the shoulder. You can see here again, force them into making the shot, lunges in, and ball is blocked. Vital blocks. They were the points that were going over against Galway. For Dublin. So again, force them into the shot. It was pressure the whole time. They were giving the Dublin forwards absolutely no time. The ball. Shane Neal again, great pass down to Seamus Harnedy, makes a trademark catch. and offloads. I suppose this one incident we actually highlighted here. You can see here John McCaffrey, who was making a run from midfield, picked up a great breaking ball. He'd guys right and left of him. That's O'Callaghan and David Tracy. But you can see here he was corralled down the channel there, and he was forced into overcarrying. Now again, he could have lunged in, given away a free, definite point. Again, Conor O'Sullivan's super pass and a good measured pass. But this was a platform for Cork for the whole game, and I think over the last number of games, this has been their foundation. Very little was expected of this Cork full back line against Clare, but they're just tenacious in their defending there.
But I would say, is there a point that they had an extra defender?
Well, that's my point. That's exactly the point I was going to make. I think obviously they decided they were going to free up Niall Corcoran at the back and push Johnny McCaffrey back, and it meant that you're dealing 5 against 4. Now, personally, I feel it's a lot easier to manage 6 against 5. It's a lot easier to have 6 against 5 in a place like Portlaoise, where the pitch is narrower and it's tighter, and players can get around more because they are very mobile. But I actually think it fell against them, and it finished up today that they ended up 6 against 4. So really, it was going to be very, very difficult for the Dublin forward line. I thought, the fact that they were going so well. I mean, they scored 111 in the first half. They only got 8 points in the second half. Now I realise they had a man sent off with 20 minutes to go, but 8 points from the forward line in the second half. I would say that by dropping the extra man, Croke Park is too big to have 5 against 6. I
wasn't sending off the difference, by the way.
It wasn't. I think it definitely gave Cork a little bit of scope. It freed them up. But I suppose it comes into question maybe Dublin's game plan, their plan B, I suppose, a little bit. Their system is getting numbers back at the back. And, for me, I think Niall Corcoran is probably a good man marker. But to play a free role, maybe he wasn't the right man for the job. I think Niall Corcoran, for me, is a real in-your-face defender. He's tight. You get nothing off him. I've marked him a few times. He's a tough, uncompromising fella.
I would think, though, that, to be fair, I know, are we giving the Cork full back line enough credit? Because, going into this game, 2 of the key players for Dublin were going to be Paul Ryan and Datsy O'Callaghan. Now, to be fair, they both contributed with scores, but I think, in general, they'll both have been disappointed. But they were very, very well marshalled. And I think the one thing the Cork full back line did was continuously frustrated them, which they never got into their momentum. And I think that
and even the last tackle there, we look at that last footage. You have Stephen McDonald and Shane O'Neill on the 45-yard line putting in tackles, so they weren't afraid to come off their positions either.
Which kind of is summed up perhaps by the work rate shown by both the teams as a key part of today.
Yeah, I just thought Dublin brought a huge intensity to their play all through the game today, and I think it's a trademark of their game, and you can see it here. I mean, every time a Cork player got the ball, he really had a battle to get the ball away, and they worked very, very hard for each other, and they're very, very good at it. And even here, you look as if the chance has been broken down, and Christopher Joyce breaks in, but they don't give up the chase. They keep on chasing, and eventually they get the ball back through Paul Ryan. He gets it across the Dotsy, and all the space is inside, and that was a great score. And I thought in that first half, especially, they worked tirelessly when they weren't on the ball, and I suppose they were really a credit to Anthony Daly and the work that he's put in over the last number of years, to the intensity they do bring to their play. Because a Cork back, you wouldn't be looking forward to getting the ball, because every time they wanted to get it back off you, they're very, very physical in their approach. And when the ball breaks out, I mean, Danny Sutcliffe, 4 points in play today this guy got from wing forward, as soon as the ball break up. But it's not just he's scoring. Look at this, he's getting back in. That's fantastic play from a wing forward inside his own 65, getting back. And again, he tried to do it to Tommy Walsh down at Portlaoise as well, and he done it again today. And in fairness to referee James Owen, very good, lets the play roll on, and he gets across to Joey Boland, and it's a simple point. But again, they're all points that are getting from turnovers in play, and they've done this on numerous occasions. And I think the most pleasing aspect for Anthony Daly when he looks back at the video will be that these boys definitely left it all out there and worked their hearts off. Because again, Stephen McDonald, there's 3 guys there, so he's struggling to get away, and it ends up being a 50-50 ball, probably in the back's advantage, and they win a free again. So I just thought all through Dublin's play was very, very was definitely there to be appreciated the way they went at it today.
All right, Cork though in the All Ireland final, Eddie.
Massive, yeah, I suppose.
And you've picked out some classy scores.
Yeah, I think today, I suppose, look, their natural class and it really took over today. And Patrick Horgan, on very limited possession, well marshalled by Peter Kelly today, never even had to look, and that's a real sign of a class forward on top of his game, knows where the goalposts are. We see again here Luke O'Farrell. Cork are playing measured hurling, looked across Conor Lehan, and this is just an absolutely beautiful touch, sublime touch over the bar. We've seen him doing that a few years ago in the league, really talented player. Patrick Horgan, another direct ball up, and Seamus Harmony, as he has done in every match, picked up his few points. That's a lovely score, breaking the ball away. And this is probably a roll back to the old school Cork, the short passing, brilliant strike move out to Tom Kenny, Patrick Cronin up the wing. And I suppose the timing of Tom Kenny's pass is everything there. He sucks in Johnny McCaffrey and gives Cronin the space. And then lovely little dink down the sideline. I suppose maybe Niall Corcoran should have cut that out, but Luke O'Farrell here does a little turn. Sutcliffe just slips at the real wrong time and he splits the post from quite a narrow angle. And that was the thing with Cork. All their forwards contributed at different occasions. And Patrick Horgan, again, probably the pick of the day, really. You know, I suppose I've spoken about what that is. You know, he's just a player on top of his game. But I suppose they were just that little bit slicker. And I think they had this inbuilt belief, and Jimmy Barry Murphy would have probably drilled it into them. This is where you belong, lads. And they have grown so much into the jerseys this year. They're really like a Cork team of old. All right, then. Well, let's find out what the players made of it all. We'll get reaction from both camps now.
I'm delighted with the win. Obviously, Dublin are a very, very good team. But I think, you know, maybe we didn't play as well as we'd like today, but that's a good thing going to the final. I suppose you've got to be critical of yourself and hope to improve for the next day. But I know I'm thrilled with the players. I'm not trying to play it down or anything. They were absolutely fantastic and gave us everything and beat a very, very good team in Dublin, I think.
Cork win the day and you take your beating and you know, fair play. They showed a bit of coolness there. You know, we had a few chances, all right. We missed a few frees and little things, you know. That's the way it goes. It's look at pity. I don't want to put it down to a refereeing decision. You know, that's not good sportsmanship, I suppose. But look, I think, you know, throwing out yellow cards after a minute, you know, for shoulder charges, God, it's a crucial time in the game. And I haven't watched it again there now. Like, the second one probably was a yellow card, Joanne, but the first one was right in front of me. I knew at the time that Ryan made contact with the corner forward, shoulder to shoulder, and you know. But the refs are putting themselves under pressure, throwing out these early yellows, I suppose, and then I suppose he'd no option later on. But I would have a problem with the first one being a yellow.
There's no doubt sendings off affect games. It happened to us in the Munster final, Kilkenny the last day. I mean, it does have a major impact because you've got an extra man, and if you use it properly and the players are intelligent enough, they can use the ball then to punish the opposition. I think, in fairness, Conor Sullivan is quite good at that role at the back, reading the play and distributing the ball very well.
Point ahead. Anthony Nash comes out, scores the free, levels it, you know.
I didn't even realise it was a free, to be honest. I was going back to take the puck out, and I think Shane O'Neill, it was very hard to hear outside there, and he was roaring that it was a free, so then I ran out. But in a game like that, you just go out and hopefully just slot it over, like, and it crept inside the right side of the post anyway, thank God.
Hoggy got a great goal. He worked hard for it and he got a great flick, and we needed that kind of I needed that goal there, and just to kind of push us over the line.
Luke O'Farrell is underneath it. Gary Maguire comes off his goal line, and it's a goal for Cork.
But anyway, look, we're beaten. We've had a great year. I'm very proud of the boys. And again today, like, died with their boots on, you know, really just absolutely gave everything. Like, Liam Rush there down there, blood splattered and just charging up the field with ball. But we made a few basic errors. We probably played the game on Cork's terms, I felt, a bit in the first half. You know, we didn't go to the play as much as we said we would, and kind of regrouped at half time and said we would. And I felt, you know, we were getting on top, went 2 ahead and chance to go 3 ahead and chance of a goal maybe, and Anthony Nash made a good save. So the whats and ifs and buts and maybes, I suppose. Look,
would you consider staying on for another year?
well, Joanne, I don't know about last year, but like, I tell you, every single year I have been asked this question when the year is finished, and I've said nothing, because, you know, you don't make decisions in sad dressing rooms, and that's what's down there at the minute, is a broken dressing room, and that's not the time to make a decision with anyone. Like, we look at, it may not be my decision even. So, like, look, we wait and see and wait up, and I don't believe there's any particular rush. You know, there'll be lads mad to take over that Dublin team at the minute, I'd say.
It's great to be in Ireland final, you know. It's where you want to be when you're a young fella, like, and growing up in Notre Dame and Ulster, I suppose. It's great to be there as well.
You know, it's going to be an extremely special day. Any time to lead out a county like Cork, I think, is a special honour for me personally, but I think we're just delighted to win today and put ourselves in a position to contest an All-Ireland final.
What do you think of an all-Munster All-Ireland final?
Yeah, it's a novelty, certainly. I was never part of one myself, because in my day that wasn't, the backdoor system wasn't there, so it's going to be a fantastic final, I'm sure. Looking forward to seeing Clare and Limerick next Sunday, and just can't wait now for the final in 4 weeks' time.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great final regardless of who's in it. Ollie, Anthony Daly, he's been with Dublin a few years. Is it important he stays on now, in your view?
It is, and I suppose the key thing there was, you know, he said he wasn't going to be forced into a knee-jerk reaction, you know, and now is the wrong time to do it. But, you he's given an awful lot to Dublin. I suppose only he'll know ultimately, how much more he can give. He's been down the road for quite a long time at this stage. I suppose within the Dublin dressing room, they'll want him to stay on a little bit longer, but I think he's going to have a long, hard think about it. You'd wonder maybe has he taken him as far as they can go at this stage?
Yeah, the argument would be there was only the puck of a ball or a card in it. For Jimmy Barry Murphy, Liam, Cork weren't rated by anybody at the start of the year.
Well, maybe not rated is maybe overstating the
Well,
mark,
in terms of winning the All-Ireland.
I mean, in terms of winning the All-Ireland, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, he deserves great credit this. I mean, he got them to the All-Ireland semi-final out of nowhere last year. I mean, previously when he done this, he had good underage teams coming up. I mean, really, he's made a team out of very little, ammunition from underage teams. So he's built it himself. They got to the semi-final, but losing the semi-final last year, coming into today, it's a huge plus to have come up last year and go down on a losing bust. And I think maybe that's the driving factor that they got today, and I think it made the difference. But Jimmy Barry Murphy deserves huge credit. He's made some really hard calls, whether they were right or wrong is immaterial. At the end of the day, he's now got his team back into an All-Ireland final, and he deserves great credit for that.
All right, then. Well, it's time to name our man of the match from this afternoon. And Eddie, you have the nominations. Not easy today.
No, it was hard to come up with just only 3 names, but I suppose that's the job. But the first fellow we picked was Danny Sutcliffe. For me, Mr. Consistency for Dublin over the last 2 seasons. Absolutely brilliant young player. He emptied his tank today, 4 magnificent points, but his work rate in general was savage. The second nominee we've gone for is Lorcan McLaughlin. Every bit of analysis we looked at today, he popped up in it. He was everywhere. Picked 3 great points in the first half. Just a powerhouse, and has really, against Kilkenny as well, he was phenomenal. And the last fella, I suppose, it's hard to credit that this fella has such an influence on Cork. 3 points today at critical stages and 2 very, very important saves. And he's just grown and a very influential fella for Cork.
Okay then, so who did you give it to, Liam?
Yeah, sterling performance is all 3, but I think in the end when we sat down and talked about, Lorcan McLaughlin was the outstanding player we felt today for Cork. As Eddie said, he was in every piece of analysis, picked off 3 points in that critical first 15-minute period, and he's a deserving winner of the man of the match tonight.
And an extraordinary thing about this, the number of Man of the Match awards that have gone to the town of Kanturk over the past couple of years with Aidan Walsh and Anthony Nash. So here's the latest, Lorcan McLaughlin.
Lorcan, we obviously spoke to you directly after the match, but you've had a chance to all regroup, have a chat. So what is the feeling now after that victory and looking ahead to an All-Ireland as well?
Yeah, we're absolutely delighted. It was a hard-fought game. Dublin were outstanding. We knew what to expect from Dublin coming into the game, and they certainly served up a massive game, a massive challenge. And our fellas, we're just delighted to come out on top in the end.
And you seem to get the vital scores and the vital breaks at the exactly right times.
Exactly. I suppose the game was in the balance all through, and it was right up to the end. It was a cracking game, It had everything. It was end to end, and we're just lucky to come out on top of it,
Well, you're into an All-Ireland final. You, Lorcan McLaughlin, are the Liberty Insurance RT Man of the Match, and Pat O'Brien from Liberty Insurance is here to give you your award.
Thanks, Pat.